Thank you, Catherine, and thank you for coordinating this incredible event this evening. Welcome, Dallas Summit Sisters and DFW Hispanic 100 Hermanas. Welcome to our new Multimedia Center here in the city of Dallas and in Southern Dallas. We're so excited to host this event. In fact, maybe you didn't know that Dallas is Texas's first designated welcoming city. And with that, we wish you a big welcome and extend gratitude for you being here this evening to share this moment with us as we engage. And why do we say engage? Because it's our newest value of service. And couldn't be in a better space right now than with committed, collaborative, very communicative women as we seek ourselves to engage further with our community and its leaders. And so I'm excited tonight to talk about the racial equity plan that's just been adopted. But before we do that, I really want to welcome you, my colleague, my sister, my hermana, Cristal Retana, who has been such an incredible collaborator with us at the city. We first met when you were actually city staff and have grown to be wonderful friends and collaborators. I'm thinking about the collaboration we had during COVID-19 when we were trying to, as leaders, determine how we could be better suited to address the needs of communities of color who were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And you stood up and raised your hand and helped form La Alianza DFW so that we could bring different leaders of organizations together around the need to address education, resources, and empowerment for our Latinx community. So I just wanted to sort of brag on you because you don't brag on yourself. And also thank you because you live out those values of empowering others. As a city council person, when you served in city council in Farmers Branch, as well in your current executive role at Children's Medical. So thank you for always being there, always showing up for our sisters and for the community at large.
Thank you so much, Liz. And I will say that a lot of us get that passion and empowerment from our own sisters, and seeing you as more of a mentor than anything else, and hoping, one day I want to be like Liz when I grow up. But thank you so much for all of your support. And we were so, as part of Children's Health, we were so happy to be a part of the Well-Being Communities and Immigrant Affairs Task Force, and under the leadership of Florencia at the Concilio, starting La Alianza to be able to really bridge those gaps and break down those barriers during COVID, and continuing to do that. So thank you so much. And thank you to you for being here with us. I did want to share a little bit about both of our organizations here. And so the mission of the Dallas Summit, for those that don't know, is to provide a forum for purpose-driven women leaders to come together and learn and engage with one another and other leaders about issues important to women and the community, and really have very candid conversations on what is going on in Dallas. And similarly for H100 is to serve as a catalyst for increased participation within our city of Hispanic women in employment, procurement, and social issues. And so, we're going to dive into some of that today. But I want to kind of start with, how does the Dallas Racial Equity Plan that you mentioned earlier support the mission of these organizations collectively?
Right. Well, thanks for that question, and thank you for highlighting the Racial Equity Plan that was just adopted by our Dallas City Council in August of this year. And I believe it's because these two organizations, the Dallas Summit and DFW Hispanic 100, consist of members who are movers, shakers, change makers, policy makers. And that's what this REP, this Racial Equity Plan, strives to do, is to change circumstances for those in our community who have been historically disadvantaged. And so we're looking at, how do we bridge gaps? How do we close disparities? Because we know that research shows that there are continued disparities along racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic lines. And so I think that this is a prime opportunity for leaders of these two organizations to get involved, hold hands with us, the city, to determine how we can join forces to address these disparities together. Another reason is because the Racial Equity Plan, in large part, was formed by women. I see women in the audience today who were critical. It consists of 42 departments who have stood up goals and measurements so that these departments individually and collectively could come together to address our disparities within the city of Dallas, according to an equity indicators report that was published in 2019. So it was, built largely by the force of women, and also I think another thing is that we're here tonight to talk about opportunities, right, for minority and women-owned businesses and enterprises. And certainly this racial equity plan, through its various department progress measures and our bigger audacious goals that I'll talk a little bit about, strives to hit that. How are we doing as a city to enable and empower and support and invest in MWBEs?
That's great. And one of the things that's working for Children's, we always talk about health equity, which is one of the things that's, highlighted in the plan too, and talking about what are those barriers. And the great thing about the plan is it's not talking about equality, it's talking about true equity and how we can come together to help break down those barriers, to help bridge the gap, to where, it doesn't matter where you live. A zip code should not dictate how long you're going to live, right? There are all these things that it addresses, and really shedding light on some things that we need to work on. And so with that, I'll talk about a goal of the equity plan is to increase recruitment of racially diverse candidates to serve on different boards and commissions, to create that sense of individuality, but also provide an equitable space for people from different backgrounds to really have a voice and feel connected with the city. And so can you talk a little bit about what is the process to be considered for an appointment for the city and some of our boards and commissions?
Yeah, well, thank you. I want to start first by saying that Dallas Summit Sisters have been very active in our boards and commissions, as well as DFW Hispanic 100 members. And so first by saying thank you, because we can't do it without our volunteers at the city. And secondly, by saying that we need more. We need more volunteers. And in fact, I wanted to highlight that our council member who was here, Councilmember Willis, she started out on boards and commissions before she became an elected official, right? And so did Janie Schultz, who served on the City Plan Commission. And she also served on the Welcoming Task Force with you.
Yep, she did, yep.
And now she represents District 11, and she was the first woman who was appointed by Mayor Johnson to serve as chair of the Workforce Education and Equity Committee. So just to see the trajectory, right, of experience, volunteerism, commitment to our city, and you can see that it can lead to different things.
It's a pathway.
That's right.
It's a pathway.
Right.
And we want to keep aligning that pathway for women, especially women of color. So yes, definitely.
It's definitely a pathway. I myself sat on the City Charter Commission in 2014. Not knowing that I would become a member of the staff at the City of Dallas, but certainly it was pivotal in understanding really the inner workings of the city and how important it is to be involved.
And not just a member of staff, but an advisor and really an advisor to city manager and even to council, because just all the things that you do to promote equity with having Dallas be a welcoming city, I mean, it's a big deal. And I don't think a lot of people realize how big of a deal it was for Dallas to get that certification. I still remember interviewing with the group that gave us that certification. So it's just, so you're doing amazing things. And I think that, just wanting to echo the importance of having a pathway for women to lead. Right. And I think when you look at not only the demographics, but even just the data when it comes to service, we need more women, and we need more women to serve. And at all levels, not just in boards and commissions and levels of government. That's why it's so important that this pathway exists. And there are opportunities for board service at the city, county, state, and federal level. One of our Dallas Summit sisters, Regina Montoya, was recently appointed to the White House to be the President's Advisory Commission on advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Latinos. So you can serve at all capacities. And as someone that has served as city council member for Farmers Branch, who also served on planning and zoning before I became a city council member, it's not just City of Dallas. We have a lot of Summit sisters and H100 sisters that live all over the Metroplex. And so there is a pathway in every city to become a part of a board and commission. Every city is different. And so it's just a matter of talking to your elected officials, but also the city secretary for that city that really is the one that kind of spearheads the effort to recruit boards and commissions members for different committees, which again do differ depending on the city. And so going back a little bit to the equity plan, and just having a conversation of some of the components that entails, outside of participation and volunteerism through boards and commissions. The adopted plan, that was, I think it was 2021 when it was adopted.
The racial equity plan?
Yes.
2022.
2022.
A couple of months ago.
Yes. What is the racial equity plan? What are some of the highlights of the plan? And what are some of the things that the plan funds for the next, iteration?
Sure. May I circle back?
Sure.
Because I did want to let people know how you might get involved with our boards and commissions.
Yes.
Not that the City of Dallas wants to hog up all the volunteers, but if you do go to government jobs and look up careers and look up jobs, and then you see Dallas boards as one of the options, then you can go on there and see that it's not a paying job, but it certainly is a job to volunteer for one of our boards and commissions. And I looked at it today, in fact, Cristal, and we have openings in Arts and Culture Commission, we have openings in our Disabilities Commission, and we have an opening in homelessness, our Commission on Homelessness. So really important work that's critical to what we do at the city, and wanted to really underscore that if you don't think you're qualified, then just call us and we will let you know that it's your willingness, right, to serve is the number one commitment, and to actually be at the boards and commissions meetings. But I'm hoping some younger girls who are coming up might see this and might be inspired to say, hey, I can do this. Yep. Give me a call at the city and I will help you navigate it.
And don't be afraid to call your city council member, because they're always willing to listen and always looking for opportunities. And so with these boards and commissions, I mean, they advise on funding, like the equity plan, right?
Yes.
And so in the last 2 or 3 minutes that we have, can you talk a little bit about what some of those components are and some of those funding mechanisms?
Yes, we're almost out of time.
I know, we are.
Yeah, I could sit here for days and talk about the racial equity plan. I could, but I think broadly, what is important is that people know that it's a strategic framework, and it's a strategic framework that helps us align all 42 departments that are working, with a very intentional focus on how do we address racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic disparities within our city together. And that's the most important thing about it. It has department progress measures that are 1 to 5 years, that strive to have a baseline and a time commitment in which to complete those progress measures. I'll just give you a quick example: procurement. Procurement, because we're going to talk about procurement later, it's striving as one of its department progress measures to go from 0 to 15 contracts of larger contracts that are broken down into smaller contracts so that MWBEs can more fully participate. That's in 2023. I mean, that's an ambitious goal. Way to go, Danielle Thompson, who put that out there. But some of them are 2024, 2025, and we'll be looking at that again, year over year, to see what we need to tweak or change to make sure that it's aligning around the bigger goals,
sure,
which are our big, audacious goals, and those are ones that we seek to move mountains with. It's over a 15 to 20 year period where we say, how do we become the most equitable, the most economically inclusive city in the nation? And that's looking at housing, infrastructure, environmental justice, economic workforce, and community development. I'm missing one, and it is infrastructure. It's going to come to me in a moment.
Public safety and wellness.
Public safety and wellness.
That's the one I'm more interested in. Public safety and wellness.
It's how do you connect public safety with wellness, right? And it's looking at community care. It's looking at in fact, one of our things that we're funding in this year's budget is a communities ambassadors program, so that people from communities that speak languages other than English can learn how to be a part of the civic engagement process here at the city. That's just one example, but we're funding about $42.5 million in investments this year alone that were approved by council. And as we move forward, we're looking to make bold investments in this, so that the plan continues to be organic, continues to be bold, and continues to strive to move mountains for equity. And
so really, in just to summarize, it really is more of it's a comprehensive plan. So most people understand what a comprehensive plan is as it relates to a city, right? It's a roadmap. It's something that you refer back to make sure you're on the right direction when it comes to equity. You're doing the things that you set out to do. So with that, I just want to thank you so much, Liz, for talking to us about how to get involved, how to serve on boards and commissions, but really how these opportunities can help filter and be a conduit to the work of the equity plan and be advisors to the work that you're doing. So thank you so much for being with us today. Now I'd like to open it up to our studio audience for questions. If we have any questions, if you'd please step up to the microphone. We have a floor mic if anybody's interested, because we answered everything right here and now.
I would like to ask everybody to save the date for January 13th. We're going to have our fourth annual Equity Indicator Symposium at Paul Quinn College. And if you'd like to be a speaker, just let me know.
Anything health equity.
I'm sure health equity, there you go.
Yes. Well, thank you again so much for joining us today. Thank you, those that are listening. We will take a quick break, and then, so please step into the video booth to share your favorite memories or dreams for Dallas. Enjoy more refreshments, and we'll be back in 5 minutes to hear about the Fair Park and the Proposition A measure on the ballot this year. Thank you so much, and thank you, Liz, for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.